Professor Mary Bownes is a Senior Vice Principal and Professor of Development Biology at the University of Edinburgh, and she has the strategic responsibility for external engagement. She also leads the Edinburgh Beltane, a public engagement initiative on behalf of all the universities in Edinburgh, which encourages researchers to engage with the public and policymakers. So she obviously has a lot of experience in bridging out of the science context into the world of policy and policy advice. Starting with Professor Bownes to provide a few reactions to either the speech directly or the issue of science advice in government.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me here at this meeting, and the Minister for allowing me to come. So I think I'd like to respond by saying, I don't think this is on. Okay, I'll stand up.
Oh, I can give you, all right, that's okay.
Okay, we can cope, we'll do it this way. So what I wanted to do was take a few minutes to say how the scientific community needs to respond to the challenge of ensuring that we get evidence-based policy. And in general, scientists are not comfortable with this. They're comfortable with working in their laboratories or whatever they're doing and doing their research and writing papers and speaking to each other. They're not, it doesn't always come naturally to them to engage with the wider public or with the policymakers. And I think there's a culture change been going on in the UK about exactly how you can begin to change this. And I want to just tell you a little bit about one project which was called the Beacons for Public Engagement. And there was the research councils together with the Wellcome Trust and with the Higher Education Funding Council for England, the Scottish Funding Council and the Welsh Funding Council put a project together where any university across the UK could bid to become a beacon of public engagement. And you had to put together a business case, if you like, for what you would do to get better public engagement for your area. And there were to be 6 of these across the whole of the UK. And the one that I put together for Edinburgh was for all of the Edinburgh universities to work together, and a number of organisations that are much better at being public-facing than the universities are. So we went in together with Dynamic Earth, which is a science centre, the museum, the Botanic Gardens, and a whole group of people across Edinburgh who know how to face the public. And we also thought, we're in an unusual position in that we have a devolved system in that we've got a Scottish Parliament as well covering some things. So we felt that what we wanted to set up, so the theme of our beacon, if you like, was that we would have the university on one side, the Parliament on the other, and the general public and the community as the third part. And what we wanted to do was work with the general public to interact and engage with them about what was going on in science, but equally to make them feel more confident about decision making, about what they thought was good policy and what they thought was not going to be good policy, and to understand the implications of scientific advancement, which affects so many people's lives. And then we would engage with the Parliament directly and the policymakers to try to, so there would be some direct action and some action via the community. And we were very pleased that we got the funding for this. As with much of this funding, it was a project for 4 years, and then we were told that there would be a cliff edge, there would be no more, so it had to be embedded at the end of it. But I do think that having all the research councils join with the funding bodies for the universities to say, we want this kind of change, is very important. And I want to say that the other thing we did was that our project was not just scientists, because if you want to see how a new development in science is going to impact upon people's lives, you actually need there other kind of researchers. You need the social scientists there. You need people who understand about policy and government. You need people who just work in completely different fields. Just as an example, when we were going out talking to people about stem cells and what they thought about stem cells and the use of them, there are not clear answers. There are quite big cultural differences in how people will respond. So we went not just with the scientists to explain what could and couldn't be done and what the potential benefits were, but also the potential risks. We would also take somebody that knew about ethics and somebody who knew about law and the legal issues. And also usually a medic who would talk about the medical potential and the medical risks. And so you can't just go with your scientists if you want to engage the public. You have to go in a much broader way, and that actually encouraged within the university a lot of barriers to be broken down between the disciplines, which I think makes things much better. So what do we actually do? A lot of what we do is about training, de-jargonizing our scientists, if you like, and trying to get them to see, because of the research they're doing and where they need to work with the public, it depends exactly what you're doing, what your public is, and what the right venue is and what the right event is. Sometimes it might be better to go to a very small community event. Sometimes a public lecture is fine, but a lot of the time it isn't. People need to be in an environment that makes them comfortable. So sometimes they're happy coming to the university, and sometimes you really need to go to them, into the environment that they're happy with. So it's really working with scientists to get them to do the right thing with the right people in the right place. I think I would just make one response about Peter Higgs. And Peter Higgs, as you know, we're all extremely excited that he got the Nobel Prize. And we were having an event at the university in McEwen Hall, which is a huge venue for the public, which was an audience with Peter Higgs. And we thought, well, actually we can't let Peter just stand up and tell everybody about the Higgs boson, because it's not really going to work. So what we had was Peter Higgs, and we had some of our colleagues who have been doing public engagement around particle physics for quite a long time. And we had a really fantastic event with the people who are really good at public engagement, Peter telling his story from how he discovered things, the science communicators explaining what it was all about, and then actually it finished up with some of our PhD students and early career researchers who'd been at CERN and who made the discovery. And so then you can have a really great event which lets the wider public engage with the Higgs boson and these discoveries, and actually was pretty good at explaining why CERN costs so much money. So I think that's probably all I want to say, but to say that there is a big culture change going on and there's different ways of doing it. I should finish by saying we did agree at the beginning we would find a way of embedding this project in the universities. It is embedded. We now have everything that we had before in Edinburgh, with each of the universities in the city paying their share of keeping it going in proportion to the number of researchers they have. So,
thank you very much.